Everything stated on WTF Nation Radio is to be considered the opinion of the person that stated it, and not an official representation of WTF Nation Radio or U.S. Army WTF Moments.
Price does not include tax, title, or license. Some assembly required. Each item sold separately. Batteries not included. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. If conditions persist, contact a physician. Individual results may vary. Keep out of the reach of children. Avoid prolonged exposure to direct sunlight. Keep in a cool, dark place. And
please enjoy the show. Shots.
This is WTF Nation Radio.
China is the only one that can control Kim Jong-un, this crazy fat kid that's running North Korea.
Cartman! Yeah!
All right, everybody. Welcome to, I guess this is the relaunch of Kicking It with Kaz. I'm joined here by my good friend Al. How you doing?
I'm doing great, and it's great to be here on an Easter Sunday.
Yeah, happy Easter, man. Happy Easter.
Thank you.
Guess all the little kids out there got to Hunt for Easter eggs, and it's also April 1st, so you never really know how that went. I saw a lot of the practical jokes, like take the chocolate out of the eggs and put grapes in them and whatnot. Wonder if anybody actually did that.
I hope not. I mean, come on. The April's Fools is for the adults, not the kids.
I guess maybe some of the eggs would be, funny to make them grapes or rocks or something. But hell, it was a nice day, man. It was I don't know, we were in the 70s today. The sun was out. We had a cold front come through, and now we're down into the probably the low 60s right now, and windows are open. So another day of not having to run the air conditioner.
Yeah, you're having nice weather. We're having a little bit cooler up where I'm at, but
Right.
I'm a little bit higher up.
You guys still have snow on the ground, or does your area even get snow?
Oh, our area gets snow. This year we actually haven't had much. It's been melting just almost as quick as it's been coming down. The mountains, though, where it matters, that's where we got our snow. It's actually quite nice. The ski resorts have been open, and it's actually been very helpful for the tourist season.
That's awesome. Yeah, because my kids live on the other side of the mountain, on the Montana side, and they had like record snow.
Oh yeah, and that's the difference is actually the mountains. It's kind of one of those. Shoot, even where I live, 20 miles away, just 20 miles, and it's like an actual veil. We'll have maybe 30, 40, 50 degree weather, and 20 miles away, right at the foothills, all of a sudden it's snowing. And maybe 32 degrees.
Yeah, the mountains affect the weather, definitely. They live in the Bozeman area, and then I've got property in Three Forks, which is, I don't know, 10, 15 miles west of Bozeman, and that is it gets some snow, but you're in a valley, so it doesn't get a whole lot. It still gets bitterly cold, but you don't get to see the volume of snow that you do up in the higher elevations.
Oh yeah, and in the valleys, as a matter of fact, that's where I actually live is in a valley, and where 200 feet up, just 200 feet difference, and they'll have snow and we won't.
It's great. I like snow. When I lived in Ohio for a bit, I was there for 1 year. It was really mild, and then the other year that I was there, we got just pounded with snow, and we had an entire month that was bitterly, bitterly cold. It was definitely below zero for at least the entire month of January.
And see, that's the kind of the way it runs anywhere that gets snow. You can have a great winter that's maybe in its 30s or maybe at the worst 20s and a little bit of snow here and there. And then sure enough, it builds up and you get hammered and the snow comes down. And then worse yet, instead of it melting, it gets so cold that it stays for months.
Right. Yeah, my kids missed a lot of school during the month of January that year. It was 2014? 2014? Yeah. I mean, it was so cold. There was there was ice on the roads, and the ice wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah, especially over in Montana, that happens a lot.
Yeah, but everyone's got a snow machine out there. No one drives around with people have snow machines in Ohio, but not as much as they do in those northern states. So today was Easter, and on the main page they had an Easter egg hunt. It wasn't just a regular Easter egg hunt like where you meet on the parade field and the kids look for Easter eggs. These are little Easter eggs that were planted globally. Locations: Fort Bliss, Fort Bragg, Fort Campbell, Fort Carson, Fort Eustis, Fort Gordon, and Fort Hood. Oconus, they had them at Camp Humphreys and Elmendorf Richardson, Alaska. Just saw the latest release from the main page. All of the eggs have been found, but they didn't go into details. They didn't mention whether any LTs had found any eggs. And I think that they threw a curveball at them because they were the eggs could be found in given an 8-digit grid coordinate. and LTs like to get lost.
Well, and how many commanders on bases right now are being a little paranoid from the fact that all of a sudden stuff is showing up and it's representative of WTF.
Right. I mean, we've got a hell of a reach. We have, eyes and ears everywhere.
You have to laugh at it.
You hear them say that. Oh, we're omnipresent. We're ubiquitous, and then you're like, whatever. And then you really see the reach that we have, either by reading the articles or going to the WTF, the U.S. Army WTF Moments page. We have quite a reach. They have quite a reach.
It's hilarious. I can sit there going, okay, those are our coordinates. What, who, what, the questions that are going on in their mind. It's fun.
Or it's do I really trust? Yeah, there's the egg. Do I really want to pick it up? But the main page guys were very forthcoming and very conscientious in their planning, because inside these Easter eggs were vouchers. There's prize vouchers for prizes from some of our sponsors and partners: Artillery Round Tumbler, Ranger Up Military and MMA apparel, Awesome Shit My Drill Sergeant Said, Infidel, Wolf Lair flags, Disgruntled decks. So, but all the eggs have been found. So congratulations to everyone or anyone who had found an egg.
Well, and that's great that we had such participation. That says something for our nation.
Yeah, it's a game. It's fun.
Well, yeah, and it also says something for our listenership. The fact that we actually were able to sit there and go, hey, every egg was found. That means we had someone in each area curious enough. That in itself is actually pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it is a day off. It's a Sunday, and they got up out of bed and found the eggs. That is good shit.
Yeah, I'm still new to WTF. You've been around a while. I think of how, you sit there and you say, oh, we've got, 1,000,001 likes and followers, and sometimes that still kind of has to click in your head. And when you sit there and go, there were enough people out there listening to say, hey, I mean, because out of how many listeners actually sit there and go, oh, why not? 1 out of maybe 50. So that means how many people just sat there and went, yeah, that sounds cool, and actually did it. That tells you how big the nation is, the WTF nation is. I think that's the part I marvel at.
And it also helps that they were cool. It wasn't just like, oh yeah, we have jelly beans and whatever. There were legitimate prizes. I mean, I was looking at the artillery round tumblers because Ice on his I don't know if it was Sergeant's Time or was it the Monday show where he gave away. I think it was Sergeant's Time show. He did an interview with artillery round tumblers and gave away an artillery round tumbler, and it was going to be personalized. So, and I looked at just the base price on those tumblers, and they're anywhere between $30 and $60. You got your from the smaller ones are probably 30, the medium ones are 40 or 50, and then the growlers that they talked about, those were pushing $60. So
and see that's
stuff.
it's really neat that really nice, I should say, that we've gotten that out to our listenership. I mean, come on, everybody's all about kids on days like today. It's nice to be able to say, hey, adults, go have some fun.
Mm-hmm. Adults like to be kids too.
Sometimes more than they should, but yeah.
True. So how's your week been, man?
Not bad. I'm starting to pick up out of retirement. Everybody says retirement's great. Well, now I'm realizing how great it was, because I'm starting to get busy getting my stuff together as a co-host. Mm-hmm. And then on top of it, I'm getting ready as a shaman to do some work outside of the house to my community.
Mhm.
And so it's been busy but good, I can say. Um, More and more, I mean, even here in the chat, I'm actually people are wanting to talk to me because of what I talk about,
Mhm.
and it's starting to become very rewarding for me, and I'm starting to get used to the routine of being there for people again. So, excuse me, it's becoming quite quite a rewarding thing for me now again.
It definitely is a lot of fun. You get to know your audience. You know who all the the regulars are, and then you can spot someone who comes in that's brand new, who's never been here before, and you welcome them into the fold, and sometimes they come back, sometimes they don't. But tell your friends. Tell your friends.
Exactly, and being that we're the new show, we're kind of the baby. Although you're the you're the old one as far as I'm the noob and you're the old one here.
Well,
But I mean, I'm learning the ropes. I'm learning about the different people, the different personalities, trying to mesh in with them, and at the same time, I am who I am, and hopefully, I don't step on anybody's toes.
no, I think we're pretty thick-skinned over here. You'll be all right. I think we might make you a little more crass the longer you hang around, which isn't a bad thing.
Well, after what I've been through, I think I probably have grown hopefully as crass as I can get. I'm pretty cranky as it is. Some people will confess to that if off air.
That's right. We all have our moments, right?
Well, if we didn't have our moments, how would we know they were moments?
There you go. Shamaning again.
Eventually, I'll push my side in there a little.
I've had a.
It's your week.
I've had a rough go of it. It is just as I've been busy. I'm trying to buy a house right now. So.
And how's that going?
It's definitely a full-time job on top of my other full-time job. I don't necessarily, I don't know. I like shopping and I like looking, but I'm frustrated at, I'm not sure about the rest of the country, but here in the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area, home values have increased. That doesn't mean the houses have gotten any better. It's just the value of those homes have increased. I've owned houses in this area before, and just going back to those same neighborhoods, the house that I moved out of is now probably $75,000 more expensive to buy. The next door neighbor's house to one of my old houses is for sale, and it's probably maybe 800 square feet smaller.
Ooh.
And that guy's going for like $230,000.
Ouch.
And it's not that, I mean,
it's not that great.
No, it's not that it's not. I mean, homes are worth what you pay for them.
Oh yeah.
So when I go and I offer money on a house, I look at, hey, this house is 15 years old. The AC's never been replaced. So I will pay you what your asking price is, but as a concession, I want you to replace the air conditioner, or you need to have the roof reshingled or replaced, depending on how old the house was. And a lot of people are balking at that. They're like, no, I'm not gonna. I want you to pay me this money, and I don't want to make any concessions. So it takes a lot of shopping around. You got to find a motivated seller.
Well, and that's just it. Between the motivated seller and the fact that, well, where you're at, the economy has gotten better, not worse, and so it makes it a little bit harder because the expectations go up. And shoot, the people who are migrating into your area, well, they tend to pay even more for their houses, so everybody's taking advantage of that.
Right, and I can see. I mean, Texas is a hot spot right now. Lots of folks are moving to Texas for whatever reason. But I guess it's a supply and demand thing. There's not as much new construction in my area that I've seen in the past. So a lot of the houses are definitely, pre-owned, at least been around since 2008 to 2010 are the newer homes. You can buy a brand new house, but you're going to pay, $130, $140 a square foot for it.
Well, yeah, and I can't quote what article it was that I heard it or read it from, but they're saying that right now it is a seller's market. Because during the Obama administration, I'm not trying to point at administrations, but during that time, people weren't buying houses. Now all of a sudden they're starting to buy houses, and there wasn't construction. There weren't the jobs. So therefore, all of a sudden, you've got a bunch of people wanting to buy houses and not enough houses.
The problem that I ran into when I lived here before, my life's been kind of upside down since about the 2011 time frame. I did a lot of moving around between 2011 and now. But what happened was they were offering, the mortgage companies were offering, like you can close on a house, no closing costs. They'll give you 110% financing.
Wow.
So let's just say, you're going to buy a house for, let's just say $100,000. They're going to give you $110,000. And for that first year on this brand new construction house, you're only paying taxes on the unimproved land. But then year number 2 comes around, you're paying taxes on the actual value of that home, or the taxable value of that home, which really threw people for a loop. You would go from paying $500 a year in property taxes to paying $4,500 or $5,000 or more, and then getting hit with that was a partial cause of what that housing bubble was.
That and the variable housing market. The fact that they didn't have set rates, they would go vary from year to year. That did not help.
Oh, to have adjustable rate mortgages, yeah.
Exactly. And people that got those were the people who couldn't really afford them, right, because those are the people who didn't have good credit.
But it was definitely a motivation to get people out of I guess the hood areas and moving into. What my neighbor explained it. She goes, it takes a well-disciplined, and she was a black lady, and her husband. She's like, it takes a lot of discipline to have enough escape velocity to get out of the hood.
Yeah, no kidding.
And she's like, and she was a financial manager. She was a really, really smart lady. She was a lot of fun. But she's like, they're trying to screw us, and she'd look at it, and she's like, as a minority, she got 110% financing. She's like, we're not spending that extra $10,000. That's going to go towards, taxes and insurance and things that need to, it's not just the price of the house, man. You got to heat it, you got to cool it, you got to maintain it. There's other things, just because your mortgage is, let's say, $1,000 a month, that doesn't mean that's it.
Oh no, that's the one thing that a lot of people don't understand when they buy a house. Buying a house starts out, okay, you got the mortgage. Everybody says, oh, I got to pay. No, then you've got to pay your insurance, and you've got to include normally they put the insurance and your taxes in together since you're financing, so that they know you've got the money, so they don't have to worry about that. And then on top of that, you start looking at, okay, how are you going to get rid of your garbage? Well, that's a monthly bill. How are you going to, you've got electric, water, gas,
yep.
And then you've got the expenses you don't think about. Mowing the lawn. You got to get a lawnmower. Got to pay for the gas for that. Then, okay, try watering the lawn, if you have any size lawn, with a bunch of sprinklers. So then at some point you think about upgrading, and it just becomes nothing but a pile on.
It's never ending. It takes a lot. And it also helps as veterans. as veterans, you have a lot of resources with VA home loans. Is I'm going through Veterans United for my mortgage, and they've been nothing but awesome so far. I haven't closed on the house. I don't know how much money everything's going to cost yet, but they've been very forthcoming with information. And you have to ask the questions, man. Okay, how much? Let's just say you're going to give me $250,000 for this mortgage. What are my responsibilities on closing day? And they'll answer you. They'll say, well, we can't give you an exact because taxes will vary based on when you close on your house. But they can give you a pretty good ballpark. And any lender should be able or will. I mean, they have to give you a very close ballpark as to what your fees are going to be, closing costs and taxes and yada yada yada. You just, I mean, granted with VA, there's no you don't have to pay. What is it? Closing? You don't have to pay closing costs, but you're going to have to make a down payment, like a loan origination fees and stuff like that. There's still money to be paid. You got to pay. You got to pay you got to pay your realtor.
Go ahead.
Some of that stuff can get rolled in. Most of it cannot.
And then you're looking at the first month you come in, you've got the startup of you've got to pay so much to the phone company to even start your line, even though they already had it there. You've got the up cost or the start costs.
Yeah, I've already talked to the electric company and the cable company, who's also my internet provider, and everybody else. And I think the only thing it's going to cost me is for garbage. I got to put a deposit down to cover the trash cans. That's it.
Yeah, it's smart for veterans to understand. Getting in house is nice, but always know what you're going to be paying up front. Understand the costs that you're getting into and be prepared for them. You may sit there, someone may sit there and say, how much money do you have to put down? Well, hold back some, because there's going to be costs that you're not going to foresee, that they're not going to tell you about, or that aren't a part of their costs.
Yeah,
you need to come up with.
When I was shopping for a mortgage, I went through several different lenders before I decided on Veterans United. And it was a very short conversation with some lenders that say, well, how much do you want to be able to afford per month? I'm like, no. That is a decent number, but that doesn't cover all the bases.
No.
I mean, I don't. I mean, if their loan origination fees are outrageous, I don't want to have anything to do with that. So we always had to. It's everything's negotiable. Everything's negotiable. I mean, typically a real estate agent will work for 6%, but you can negotiate that down to 3%. Have the seller pay 3% and you pay 3%. Everything. It's all an agreement.
That's the thing is buying a house is there's many bargaining tools. You just have to understand. So just because something looks good, go watch some of the channels that talk about do it yourself. Go watch what some of these people do, and they'll hide stuff. So you be smart. Don't just sit there and look it over yourself. I mean, go out and get a home inspection where the guy actually will sit there and try to get behind the walls. Get in there and look for termites.
They've got tools now that are available to the inspectors. I mean, infrared cameras and whatnot. They can see into the walls, see potential breaches, roof issues. And, it's all very scientific now. I mean, home inspection will probably cost you around $600, I'm guessing. And it's for a good reason. And having a VA loan, it has to pass that inspection. The inspectors are very, very, very thorough, and I guess they're more stringent, I think, than just getting a regular FHA.
Yes, they're much more stringent. In fact, when I bought the home I'm in, there was another home I wanted, and they said, no, we have to know that for the first 10 years, you won't have any major accidental costs.
Or they try to look for in the foreseeable future potential issues. Roof
Yes, I mean,
issues.
they sat there and they said, "Well, you're going to need a new roof." And I said, "Well, but I can pay." They said, "No, that's the way the VA rules are. You will have no out of pocket major costs for the first 10 years. If that roof has to be redone, that's considered in the cost. The only way you'll get this is if the buyer or the seller is willing to throw in redoing the roof beforehand." And so, I mean, that's the back and forth you have to understand, that you have to be a part of, and you have to know the VA is very strict.
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of pushback from the sellers. I've seen houses that I've wanted, but I've wanted them to make concessions, either new carpet in the living room or change out the carpet in the bedrooms. You've got some cracked tiles here, fix those, and there's a lot of pushback from homeowners that are trying to sell their house, saying that no, my house is appraised at this amount. This is what I want for the house, and they're and it is a seller's market right now. So 8 times out of 10, they'll probably get away with that, but
Yep.
but not for me.
Well, you're an informed buyer.
I've done it before,
Exactly,
several
and
times before.
that's just it. Is sometimes, most of the time, they're hoping to get the new buyer, and the person who says, "Oh, I can take care of that. Don't worry about it."
Or they try to be nice. Oh, that's no problem. No.
Exactly. So, what else is on your mind?
I don't know, man. We've had an interesting week. Have you read any news about that space station crash into Earth yet?
I haven't read anything on that. I remember, though, listening to Pookie, and they said that was supposed to happen here anytime. And they're saying, as the calculations look, it's supposed to be off of one of the Asiatic countries and into the ocean.
Yeah, it was supposed to. They actually they didn't miscalculate it. They recalculated, and they said, well, it's not. It's not of any threat to the continental United States. However, it will probably crash in the Pacific Ocean. It'll start re-entering the atmosphere around Malaysia.
Okay, there you go.
But I haven't heard anything. I looked at the news right after we started right before we started broadcasting, rather, and I hadn't seen any new news about it yet.
Oh, nothing about, "Oh no, watch out, it's coming. Boom, boom, boom." Nothing apocalyptic yet, huh?
I haven't seen anything apocalyptic. I think of the majority. I mean, it's really huge. I don't remember how big it was. It's 400,000, 400. I don't know how many. It's big. I don't know how much mass it has. I don't know how much it weighs.
Well, it was big, but there wasn't as much material. A lot of that material was, a lot of the material was the type of material that will burn up. There was very few things that they believed would actually make it through.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way they make space stations and capsules, for that matter, anymore, is they try to keep stuff like that in mind.
And this isn't like it's a direct hit trajectory. This is on a very wide trajectory. This thing's been falling for the last year and a half.
Yeah.
So
this is just the biggest part of it now.
Yeah.
And the parts that won't necessarily burn up.
Well, I hope it doesn't land on anybody's head, but even the space.com saying that they don't think it's going to be a danger to any individuals. I mean, you got to figure the Earth is 70% water. So,
yeah, exactly. I mean, the worst that's going to happen is we're going to, hear that it hit some whale and save the whales now.
Or some dude fishing out in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, wouldn't that be the statistical nightmare? How did it hit this one little guy in this one little boat?
And earlier that day, he bought the Mega Millions lottery ticket.
Exactly. It kind of reminds me of was it? I can't even remember. There was a TV series about a girl who got hit by a toilet seat.
Oh, interesting.
What?
I said that's interesting. A toilet seat.
Oh yeah, from a space station, and the odds of getting hit, and then she didn't truly. She died, but she went on to become a reaper, and it goes into that and all the it ends up being kind of funny to watch, and it has some interesting poses on death and how you view life.
Okay. I don't think I've heard of that one.
I'll have to go look up and give you the title. I mean, I pretty sure it's downstairs.
So we're going to have a new Secretary of the VA. Since old Shulkin got the heave ho.
Yeah, that's been a controversy, and I see both sides of that controversy. Do you?
I kind of do. And just to refresh on everybody's memory, Ronnie Jackson is a rear admiral in the United States Navy. He served as the White House physician for more than a decade. He's worked in 3 different administrations, including the Trump administration. And now he's the new pick to lead the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. If he's confirmed by the Senate, he will replace David Shulkin, who has been under fire for taking a taxpayer-funded trip to Europe last year. So Shulkin, got his fingers caught in the cookie jar, and rightfully so was removed. I think Shulkin was doing some really, really great things, bringing some accountability into the VA, but when you get your hands caught in the cookie jar, so to speak, that's a character flaw, and that's no bueno.
Yeah, that's going to put you in a position of, okay, you say one thing, you're doing all this stuff, but we're going to have to question what is your motivation.
Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know this Ronnie Jackson guy. I mean, he's been in the White House for a while. I don't know, as the physician for the president.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Everybody has their controversy. What was it, the American Legion or the VFW? One of the two wasn't happy because they weren't a part of the process, which to me, that's petty. I think it's nice to pull in veterans to ask, but at the same time, if the man is qualified, and everybody says, well, Trump is pulling in a yes man. It doesn't sound. I doubt he's a yes man, considering he's worked on more than just Trump's family.
Mm-hmm.
And my thoughts are, what's wrong with bringing in someone that maybe you get along with, so that you can communicate with? Because one thing I know, for me working as an NCO, or me working in other places, if you have someone you can communicate with, if you're in charge, it makes it a lot easier to call them up and say, okay, them to call you up and say, okay, here's what I'm seeing, and give you a true point of view.
And it's just, if you take it out of the realm of the White House, big VA and all this other stuff, you take it into your own workforce, into the place where you work. There are people that you might not necessarily get along with, and this is the fact where I work. We might not be buddies, but I can work with these people. There are people that I'm friends with that I can't really work with.
Yeah.
There's the people that you can work with, and the people that are just, yeah.
Well, and that's just it. For all we know, the president looked at this guy and said, I have respect for you. You talk to me like I need to be talked to. You give me the information I need. And that makes more sense to have someone like that, especially if you're relying on them to give you the view of what's really going on. Because in the president's position, the one thing that the president is not a totalitarianistic person. He is a president of a republic. And so therefore, with our democracy, he's got to rely on so many people coming in and giving him information. Mm-hmm. So it kind of comes down to, who do you trust? And who do you trust to tell you the way you need to hear it?
And it's a big chunk of real estate. There's 300,000 plus employees in the VA.
Exactly. I mean, that's a lot to account for. And then on top of it, you're talking about, okay, the condition that they're working in. the you're not only talking about the hospital, you're talking about the administrators. And what's the condition of that? Is there is there a problem of people being on the take? You need someone who's going to give you an honest view
I think
and
that
not sympathize.
I'm thinking that there's so many issues with the VA, and it's not every VA center. And we've had some discussions before, Owl, that my VA, I have got no complaints. My biggest complaint is I've got to walk a long way to the front door.
Well,
It's a massive, massive parking lot.
you know, when I was in Denver, I loved the VA there. It was I mean, waiting time was almost non-existent. The doctors were attentive. It was really great. Where I am now, I only go there for the clinics. I have a problem with the a lot of the straightforward PCMs and some of the specialties. And so, yeah, you're right. It depends on your VA, and it shouldn't. It should be straight across the board. Everybody's there to care about you. And it's just sometimes, I mean, and that I think that comes down to the administrators. The administrator of one hospital says, I care about the patients, you care about the patients, or else. And then there are some that well, I'm all about taking care of the doctors, or I'm all about taking care of our paperwork so we look good because I want my promotion.
Yeah, I mean, I've walked into my VA in Dallas. Okay, Dallas actually has a VA hospital proper.
Yeah.
Fort Worth has a clinic. It's a big ass clinic, but it's still a clinic. They can't do surgeries there. They can't do. I mean, they have dental services there, eye services, and then clinics, several different clinics for different things inside this big massive building. I've walked in there and that place is jam packed, but I was early for my appointment. I signed in. I did my blood work when I was supposed to, and I'm in and out. I've never not been seen on time. The blood clinics, are walk in. You just got to do that like a week or so before your actual appointment. And as long as you do what you're supposed to, and again, this is at my VA, then things tend to run smoothly. I make it a point to show up very early, meaning not 10 minutes, but usually 30 or 40 minutes before. And every single time that I've done that, I've been seen actually earlier than my appointment time, and it doesn't take all day.
And see, your VA it sounds like it's working good.
It is working
my
good,
VA,
but I mean, you go to like St. Louis, where that guy killed himself in the lobby.
yeah, it's ridiculous, and it shouldn't get to that point. I mean, even in the military, we are attentive enough to usually catch people, but to have a VA center that is so wrapped up in itself that it can't see the obvious, that's what becomes sad.
I think on some of these VAs are staffed with people that just hate going to work. They don't like what they do. In my opinion, they're in the wrong profession.
Well,
maybe they shouldn't work at a VA hospital. Maybe they should work in a regular hospital. Maybe just a change of scenery. Maybe they're burnt out. Maybe they're having life problems and things just aren't going as smoothly for them as they ought to be. There's any number of reasons why some VAs work more than others or better than others.
Well, and that's just it. And that's what I'm hoping this new secretary of the VA will look into is the reasoning and the understanding of, and because he's an actual medical doctor, he would understand burnout rates. He will understand some of those things and should be able to help. Because even when I worked in the military as a medic and a psychiatric specialist, I had to be moved off the psychiatric ward every once in a while just for my own mental health. And that's the type of stuff you have to take in mind, because a lot of times they put people in those jobs, especially when they're GS. Well, the union says that they have to be here, and then you get so tied up. Someone's going to be in that job and they don't see anything but one job for 10 years. They're going to get burned out and they're not going to want to come to work. You're right.
And that knife cuts both ways too. You can't walk into the VA and give them attitude and expect to have flawless service.
Oh no,
No, you
no.
gotta, you gotta be civil.
You don't get flawless service anywhere. Sad to say.
And
I mean, you go to that's people talk about privatization. Um, I prefer some people who at least understand the difference between a civilian and a military person,
Mhm.
and make privatization available for the services that aren't offered directly by that hospital. That's the only thing I see.
now they have what's it called? Veterans Choice.
That only works if you are a certain amount of mileage away. I believe it or I'm within my hospital's mileage. I can't use it. And I would love to go to different doctors for certain things, and I'm not allowed to.
Now, what about like if you have an appointment but you need to be seen sooner rather than later, you can be referred to a civilian specialist?
No,
Is that not happening yet?
that is not happening up here. If they think that you need to be seen sooner, you know what what they offer here is we'll fly you to Seattle, and yes, we'll pay for you to go over there. If we feel that you need to stay overnight, yes, we'll pay for you to stay overnight, and so on and so forth. But not every veteran is 100% disabled and not working. There are people that are working, so it can become an inconvenience. And even for those of us that are 100% and not working, it's still an inconvenience. And I'm sorry, the load that I've heard, and I've had friends go over to the other VA, it's to the point where they don't know you. You walk in and they'll sit there and talk to you about someone else's problem. And then go, "Oh, that's not you?"
I've never had that happen.
Well, and that's just it. I've seen the good and the bad. Like I said, there was when I was down there, the Denver VA Center was wonderful. The VA Center where I'm at, it has its good points and it has its bad points. The only good part about it is I've actually got TRICARE. So if I don't like what I'm seeing, I can go and say, guys, I'm going to go on base and I'm going to get my referral. And that's the only thing that saved me a couple times.
Well, I mean, whoever the VA secretary ends up being, whether it's Admiral Jackson or whether it's somebody else, they've definitely got their hands full. I mean, like I said, you got 300,000 plus employees to manage. A lot of the criticism is that, well, this guy doesn't have managerial experience. I'm like, with the state of affairs right now that is in the VA, it's. I don't want to say it's not. How can it get any worse? It can get worse. Trust me. But I think you give him a fair shake. I mean, Shulkin wasn't in there very long, and there's being a change made, and it's going to be someone other than Shulkin. If Admiral Jackson doesn't work out, then he'll be replaced. It's just I cannot imagine the enormity of his task at hand because he's responsible for everybody.
Well, yeah, and one, give him a chance. You're right, and two, maybe it kind of goes back to the idea of Trump. He's not a bureaucrat, and maybe that's a good thing because then he will think outside of the box. And that's what we need. I mean, I'll keep away from the negative about the whole politics thing, but we need people outside the box at this point. We need people who aren't bureaucrats. We need people who want to bring smiles to people's faces rather than give them nothing but more to frown about.
I think what I'm liking about President Trump, and he wasn't my first choice, but the guy he doesn't pay lip service. Everything that he says he's going to do, it's either in progress or he's done.
Exactly. I mean, you can be negative about anybody, and you can find flaws in everybody. I have flaws. You have flaws. We all have them. And to sit there and try to pick them apart, you know what? All you're doing is feeding to the frenzy of negative that goes into this world. Why don't you try looking at the fact that he's not feeding to the media. He's not feeding to the bureaucrats. He's actually trying his best to represent you just like he is supposed to. And when you think about that, he's trying to help us. And
Well,
he's trying to do his best. No, again, he's not going for your bureaucrats. He's going for the people that he thinks have the heart.
I don't know. I think he's doing. I think he's doing things with the United States of America at heart. He's not trying to make people happy. He's doing things that are going to be better for the country as a whole.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sorry, I correct myself. You're right. He's doing things for better for the whole. To me, that's putting smiles on people's faces because he actually cares about truly who we are, who we're about. I mean, you can put your chest out with pride with that thought.
Yeah.
Just my thought on that.
So I don't know. I guess part of the reason for this show is just like to recap. I guess the week in news. Maybe it's things that we haven't talked about. Maybe it's things that we've had. We have talked about the VA throughout this week because that was Trump's announcement on Wednesday. But I mean, there's other things in the week that have happened. If you have an app, do you have one of those Apple Watches, whatever they're called?
No, I haven't. Do you?
Oh no. But Apple pushed another an update, WatchOS 4.3 for Apple Watch.
Wow.
It's got a lot more features.
I actually saw someone with that. They actually look interesting, but
a lot of folks at work where I work have those things. You know, they got the Fitbits and the Apple Watch and.
Well, yeah. I mean, my wife, she was using a Fitbit, and it was pretty cool. I just can't sleep with it on. Yeah, I mean, I can't have something on my wrist when I sleep, and she can, and good for her because I mean, it gives you some really interesting information. It'll actually tell you when you're actually sleeping, and when you aren't. You actually find out how much you're actually sleeping or you aren't sleeping. Which I find is actually it's interesting. It maps out more about you. The only downside, it goes into a phone, so therefore it makes your information accessible.
Yeah, I don't. I think I'm happy with knowing that when I'm sleeping, I'm asleep, and then when I'm awake, I'm awake.
Me too.
And I know I may toss and turn and whatever, but I usually wake up feeling refreshed and ready for the day. So I don't need a $200 gadget on my arm to tell me that.
People usually know when they're not sleeping good, and if you can't figure it out, all you have to do is go and look in the mirror in the morning.
Yeah, look at the bags under your eye.
Exactly. Or I always tell people if you don't wake up at least half or better of part of your week, feeling close enough to being refreshed like you were when you were a kid, you need to think about it.
I don't know when I used to have a problem, and I guess I do. I'll go to bed, let's say 10 p.m. my time, and falling asleep is not a problem at all. But then I'll wake up an hour and a half after I've gone to sleep, feeling completely refreshed, like I've had a full night's sleep, and it's only been, and it's 11:30.
Really?
So I'll crash hard, and then like an hour and a half later, I'm up, and it's like, and if I don't go right back to sleep, it's really hard. If I get up and get a bowl of cereal or do whatever, I'm waking myself up, and it doesn't end well.
No, and that's an interesting pattern. At some point, that would be interesting to look into because I've heard of that. In fact, I at one point, for my own reasons, had sleep problems, but mine are different. But yeah, you have to think about that sometimes, and you have to see what it does to your body.
Yeah, I might. I've got an appointment at the VA in, I think May is my next one, either the end of April or beginning of May. I can ask them if I can do a sleep study.
Well, not only a sleep study, and well, you know me, I talk about alternative things. Um, don't be scared to go think outside the box because maybe get the results from the sleep study, or maybe even take it to a natural path. Maybe it's your when you say you wake up straight, that actually could be your brain waking you up. Does your brain feel really active all of a sudden?
I don't know. I was sleeping. Then I wasn't sleeping.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. I'll have to pay attention to that. I just get pissed off because I'm awake.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
But I never. I mean, I set an alarm every night. I never wake up to my alarm. I'm always up before my alarm goes off.
I'm the same way, but that comes from the army thing.
Yeah,
I,
probably.
I mean, I'd wake up 5 minutes before my alarm would go off just because I don't want to hear it.
The thing is, when I do that frustrates me. That damn it, I could have slept for 5 more minutes, or I was down hard. Or I'll wake up. Let's say I get up at 5:30 in the morning. I'll wake up at 30 minutes before my alarm, and I'm like, all right, I got 30 more minutes to sleep, and then I go down hard, and then my alarm goes off, and then I'm pissed off that my alarm went off.
Yeah, yeah. I've done the same thing. I actually I'll realize that it's that kind of time, and when I'm in that position, and I'll either make the decision to just go ahead and stay awake, or I actually do a mental thing where every 5 minutes or so, one of my eyes goes open.
I usually pull out my tablet and start reading news or something just to stay awake. My alarm goes off, and I'm like, all right, time to start the day. But it usually doesn't end well when I go back to sleep with 30 minutes to go. Then I wake up groggy and meh.
Drug down. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Well, we have been talking for almost an hour.
You liar.
No, no, look.
Are you saying? Holy crap. Damn, you talk a lot, Owl.
I know. Everybody thinks I'm a quiet little guy, but if you get into the stuff that I enjoy, yeah. I'm the extrovert between my wife and I.
You're the extrovert.
I'm the extrovert.
All right. Well, hey, we're going to be back here in just a couple of minutes to take a short break. Get yourself something to drink, go to the bathroom, stretch your legs, and we'll be back in just a moment.
WTF Nation Radio.
Voice of U.S. Army, WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
This is Randy Couture, and you're listening to WTF Nation Radio.
Hello, everybody. We're back from the little short break here on WTF Nation Radio. This is Kicking It with Kaz. My name is Kaz. I'm your host, and I'm joined here by my good friend Owl.
Woohoo!
And
How are you?
Well, I'm doing great. I'm going to take you out to the finish line. This is the second and final hour. We're just going to BS a little bit, talk, give a little bit of some news updates, new news.
Get a chance to actually work with each other.
Yeah. I mean, I've been on the air with you before, but it's never been my show. It's always,
Exactly.
always,
We're actually going to be. We're trying to feel out what each other wants to talk about and what y'all want to listen to.
Yeah. I mean, no one really likes to. There's a lot of bad news, and it kind of grates on you after a while. I mean, I used to be a big news consumer. I'd make it a point to watch, Fox and MSNBC and CNN and One American News, and see how differently the news is reported, and it seems even Fox does a better job than most. I think One American News is probably the best. BBC used to be up there, but they're getting kind of loopy, and I don't like what turned me off of mainstream news is they don't report the news anymore. there's news in there, but it's like they're trying to sway your opinion on how you should feel about that particular piece of news.
Well, yeah, it's opinion and it's propaganda, and I don't like saying it because I agree. You and I decided, we talked about being positive, and it comes from the fact I agree with you. It started back a couple years back before the elections, but maybe 4 or 5 years back, news got to the point where it was remember the old song, Gimme Dirty Laundry?
Yeah.
Okay. It started feeling like that, except for worse. And it just started getting to the point where you would watch CNN. Like you said, CNN used to be, you could rely on CNN to report the direct news. Used to be, you could even the local channels would report local news without opinion. But it got really, really bad. I mean, me being retired, when I was at my worst health, what did I have to do? I wanted to know what was going on the outside world. So I would sit there and I'd turn on the news. And it got to that point where it was hurting to watch. I mean, it made you cringe. You would actually have nightmares about, okay, what's next?
Another thing that I used to do a lot, I used to listen to a lot of, I can't watch news all the time, but at work I could, put in my earbuds and I could listen to like the local talk radio shows, or I could listen to a Rush Limbaugh show, or Michael Savage, or something like that. And it's just, I felt myself becoming like an angrier person. Like it's an us versus them, and it's a war, it's a battle, and I didn't feel good, even though my opinions may closely match, maybe not exactly, but it's shit that I can't do anything about.
Well, yeah, I mean,
making me angry.
And I agree. Like I said, you sit there and you're watching this news, and this comes from both me personally and me as a shaman. I have many friends, either who are just veterans, other friends, and then I have shaman friends. And my shaman friends will sit there and say, yeah, I watch news once a week, and I try to glean what I can, and then I have to turn it off. And listening to podcasts like the different opinions and all the conspiracy theories, they're fun to think about, but eventually they go dark. And it gets to the point where you have to say, who's going to help me, or who's going to help me look at the fact that the world isn't going to blow up in 5 minutes? Because it just keeps coming that way. Their hair is on fire because, oh no, they fired the secretary of the VA. Their hair is on fire because, oh no, Trump is going to be meeting with Korea, and is that going to go well, or is he going to blow that? Their hair is on. It just gets to that point where at some point you need to be able to take a breath and say, is there anybody out there who isn't smiling, or excuse me, isn't growling at each other? Is there anybody out there? How many of us would like to just sit there, take a deep breath, and say hi to each other, and not worry that someone has an ulterior motive, or someone is of this belief, or someone is of this agenda?
I saw a meme online, and it's true, and I can't quote it exactly, but it's like, rather than pay attention to the garbage that the media is trying to feed you, go outside and talk to your neighbor, and you'll find out that the world's not as bad as it's being reported.
Exactly. I mean, of all things, you know what I had to watch today just to really get myself in a good mindset? I sat there and watched Too Cute.
Oh, where they have all the dogs and cats and whatever.
Yeah. I mean, as simple as that sounds, it makes you just sit there and smile and go, that's life. And you want to remember the simple part of life. I mean, come on, how many of you would like to sit there and go back and say, man, I remember when life was simple, when getting home meant looking up and seeing that the lights just came on, the street lights just came on, it's time for me to go get home, and not worry that some guy's going to come up and be a predator
Right.
because mother's paranoid.
Yeah. I think every generation goes through that. I'm sure my parents did that. Yeah. And then their parents did that too. And it's like, oh, this world's going to hell. These kids these days.
Oh yeah. In fact, a couple years back, I had a friend over in Seattle, and their uncle, he was sitting there, and we got to talking, and he said, "So you're a prepper?" And I said, "Not quite." And he said, "Well, we've been prepping since the 70s, or actually he said 60s, and he said, we expected the world to blow up, and it's still here. And at some point you just go, you know what? If it's going to blow up, just make sure your pants are down and aimed at the explosion."
Speaking of blowing up, I just got a little text alert. That satellite's supposed to land off the coast of Brazil tonight.
Okay. Well, heads up, Brazil.
Yep. No, I don't know. Off the coast of Brazil, that's the eastern side of South America. So hopefully it doesn't make it to Brazil. Hopefully it lands in the water.
Yeah, hopefully it will land in the water. And if they're saying the coast of Brazil, let me think. Yeah, yeah, you're right. Hopefully it won't. They won't see much, if any. If anything, they're just going to get some of the stuff coming up on shore afterwards.
Yeah, I personally think that very little of it's going to survive the re-entry, but I hope it doesn't make it. Brazil is very densely populated,
Especially near the coast.
in areas, yeah. Rio, Sao Paulo.
Yeah, but no, you and I agreed, and that's like I say, that's the reason we are here, and that's why we're here for you, nation. We're here for you. We're here to help you get some relief. We talk about news all week long, and we're here to inform you, and it won't stop. But at the same time, we're here to help you also let go of all the things that build up. I mean, come on, when you're hearing everybody crying, the sky's falling, at some point you just say, well, okay, the sky's falling, I got to walk outside sometime.
Yeah, and that's been a saying, as long as we've been around, as long as we can get you guys out of your head for a couple hours a night, that's good shit.
Exactly. So yeah, don't forget to go outside and walk around, or don't forget to change the channel if you're watching TV. Like I said, I was disabled to point at one point in my life where all I could really do was get up and watch the TV. And I know sometimes it's hard to change that channel. Change the channel. Find something that makes you laugh.
Yeah, there's all kinds of choices on Hulu and Netflix.
Exactly.
Hey, can I offer some medical advice?
Go for it.
Don't overdose on Imodium. You're going to have a bad day if you take too much Imodium. The thing is, and I read this story, and I'll share that with you guys in just a second, but I heard that, kids were taking massive doses of Imodium and they were getting some kind of a high by it. I don't see how.
I kind of do. Coming from experience of being a medic and dealing with guys who ate too many MREs,
mm-hmm.
Before it becomes painful, it actually causes the body is going to try to do all sorts of things to you. And one of them is it's going to release things to try to make you feel better and also to lubricate. Ooh. And so you're going to have all sorts of interesting reactions, one of which you're going to feel a little bit high. Yeah, it will actually can make you feel dizzy.
I don't know. The guy was taking, a Pennsylvania man reportedly died after taking too much anti-diarrhea medication. Medical examiner said that a 29-year-old named Arjun Patel. He died, and his death was caused by loperamide poisoning, which is the active ingredient in Imodium. It's an over-the-counter medication used to reduce the frequency of diarrhea.
For those go ahead.
Officials did not reveal how much was in his system. And they mentioned earlier this year that the FDA actually put out a warning saying don't take too much of this for that reason. But man,
you had, I mean, one, read the directions. You don't keep taking it every 15 minutes. You have to give it time to work. And two, I don't know what he was thinking, if he was looking to do the high or if he was just convinced that he had that much diarrhea.
I don't know.
But that, oh
he was
gosh.
shitting bricks, that's for sure.
And the thing is, that would be painful. I mean, seriously, if you're sitting, I mean, if you sit there and you think about it, that stuff had to have caused his intestines to stop moving. So not only did you have matter in there, you had gas in there. And all that's just sitting there. And that would blow your stomach up to the size of pregnancy.
There's Casey with the jokes. She said that's a shitty way to die.
Exactly. Or not so shitty, depending on the way you're looking at it.
I mean, because if you've got diarrhea, you're going to get dehydrated. But if you're taking Imodium, that's supposed to absorb that liquid. So are you getting dehydrated anyway? And then if you overdose on it, you're kind of like an evaporating sponge.
Well, yeah, you with Imodium, you're gonna start peeing, because the idea is if you've got diarrhea, it's coming out and it's basically liquid where it's not supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then you take Imodium, and that means all of a sudden your body is supposed to function right, and you pee rather than have diarrhea. So yes, you're peeing, and you're peeing out the water, and at the same time, it's drying it up in there, and it's also slowing down the movement in your intestines. Like I said, you're blowing up. How can you not know something's wrong? Because you're going to look like a pregnant woman within hours.
Yeah, it's okay to go see the doctor. Go to even a doc in the box down the street. They'll at least steer you in the right direction.
Oh, they'll be calling out the Roto-Rooter man.
Another interesting story as far as the medical stuff go. It's not really medical. It's there's a California judge that is ordering their coffee companies to put cancer warnings on their products.
I saw that.
But even after medical professionals were interviewed, they'll say that, yeah, there is a chemical in there that can cause cancer, but in coffee, I mean, no one will ever consume that much. I'm trying the word here. This is a medical word. Acrylamide.
Okay.
Acrylamide's a compound that comes into the coffee from the roasting process.
Okay.
But it's you're never going to. I mean, you're never going to consume enough coffee. To have that much of that chemical that it's going to cause cancer.
If you're going to consume that much coffee, you're going to have problems with your stomach well before that cancer comes around.
It's crazy though, because I mean, these doctors, I mean, it's like saccharin. A long time ago, they said, saccharin's bad. And now it's not bad because they looked at the data and they said, well, no one's ever going to take that much saccharin in one sitting. These are like super dosed mice. And one of the doctors said, and it's a really funny quote in the story, said that mice don't drink lattes. It's just crazy that you have a judge saying, no, you need to have warnings on your product now on coffee, and coffee's only one of the things. Grilled food has this compound. French fries has this compound, and it comes out in the cooking process. It gets presented in the cooking process.
In other words, the byproduct of some form.
Right. So, and all the doctors are like, no, this isn't a problem, but the judge has taken it upon himself to mandate, and this is in California, everything causes cancer in California.
Of course, breathing causes cancer in California. Live in LA.
Right. Yeah, dude, you get cancer just from breathing the air, right?
Oh yeah, especially down there. They're special over there. They have to be held by the hand for everything. Oh my goodness. Come on, people.
Got more California news. I mean, a lot of times you have like Florida man stories.
Yeah.
I don't have any Florida man stories today, but I do have another California story.
Lay it on me.
The San Francisco sheriff that was in charge when Kate Steinle was gunned down by an illegal alien, and who has staunchly defended their sanctuary city class. Let me start that over again. Okay. Who has staunchly defended its sanctuary city status. There's a lot of S's in that. He got defeated in a massive landslide for sheriff. He lost his job, and it wasn't like it was, 50-49 or whatever. It was 62% to just 31% for Sheriff Mercarimi.
Good for you, San Francisco. You're waking up. I'm glad to hear it. Now, next you got to go after your city council because they're the ones who told him to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and the council has they've doubled down on their sanctuary standing.
Of course, that's the way things work. When you're wrong, double down. Don't. It's like I'm going to say this because again, I'm trying to keep it light. It's like children. Children, you catch them in a lie. And they'll sit there and double down and go, even if you sit there and you go, you just ate the blueberries for our blueberry pie. And you see blue teeth.
Yeah.
Come on, kids.
I looked into this story. Did you know that San Francisco has been a sanctuary city since the 80s?
Wow.
I think 1989. It was the late 80s, mid to late 80s. They declared themselves a sanctuary city.
That would have been when they were, what it was it? They actually tried to go after immigration in the 80s, and that's when they came up with the immigration laws that everybody keeps referring to, saying if we'd only enforce them, we'd be just fine.
Mm-hmm. But now President Trump's like, no, this is their immigration law is law and it needs to be enforced. Exactly. So I appreciate his heavy-handedness in this, and he's sent federal agents into several different townships in California and in other places. That like even Houston says that they're a sanctuary city. I'm thinking Austin is a proclaimed sanctuary city, but that. Dude, really? That's not, especially in a red state like Texas is. I don't think that'll go far.
Well, here's what I have found out is sometimes, see how many people really pay attention to their city or county officials during those meetings, because believe it or not, I found out the city or the county I live in is a sanctuary county. And I've actually brought it to people's attention who have been actually worked in counties or for the county in some capacity. And they're going, what? When was this? It's stuff can get put through without you even realizing it.
And you hear it over and over again. All politics is local, and it just sounds like that's it's just hyperbole or anything. But it's really it really is true. If you want some stuff to change, look at your city councils, look at your school board. Everyone. I vote every opportunity that I can, and shame on me. I don't always pay attention to who sits on the Board of Education in my area. I don't always pay attention to my immediate representation.
Well, and that's just it, is a lot of people don't. See, I don't live in the direct city. I'm kind of outside of the city that I live in. And so I don't have direct city council. Those The funny part is the people who normally run for city councils are normally your activists and the people who who have agendas. And it's kind of sad because a friend of mine, he was in the city council, and he said, he said I had to get out of it. He said because it was just, you wouldn't believe what goes on with the people. He says, he said, I just couldn't take it anymore because you're expected to keep your mouth shut. And he said, I couldn't deal with the lies and the behind the door stuff, and people don't see it. And that's, I mean, he said to keep himself sane, he had to get out of it.
Oh, you have to. It'll consume you, man. It'll consume your soul. Hey, I've got some breaking news.
What's that?
A defunct Chinese space lab has re-entered the Earth's atmosphere, and it is mostly burned up. And that news is coming from Beijing, and it is not immediately clear if the remains of the space station known as the Tiangong-1 has been accounted for.
Well, maybe, yeah, and that's the question. If Beijing is saying it mostly burned up, and it's coming from them, hopefully they're not doing propaganda, and hopefully they're speaking the truth.
Yeah, they say it burned up in the atmosphere in the South Pacific, off the coast of South America, off of Brazil.
Well, then hopefully we will find that they're right, and that we won't find out in the morning. Yeah, Brazil got a big nuclear reactor put in the middle of the biggest city.
Well, no, I think.
I know that's not so nice, but
there'll be a lot of big chunks that may have re-entered the atmosphere, but I think that's just going to be at the bottom of the ocean, and now you're going to have maybe some treasure hunters out there trying to find some stuff.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. It's something to do.
Anyway, back to politics and it consuming your soul. Here's Owl.
Back to politics and consuming your soul, huh?
One thing that I did find that I had never been in an HOA before until one of the houses I built in was run by an HOA. We were the 7th home built in there. And then until we were not self-directed, we were controlled by the developer. So once we got a quorum, that's a 70% of the amount of houses that were supposed to be there were occupied. Then we could elect our own board and whatever. So I decided to, be a part of my community and become a part of the HOA board. In that group of people, there was probably a dozen of us, and I'll bet you, not myself, but there were a lot of people that really, 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 really wanted to be in charge, and they were very
aggressive,
power hungry. They weren't willing to rewrite the bylaws to fit our neighborhood, because our bylaws were just cut and paste from some other neighborhood that this guy did, and it just didn't match the neighborhood.
Well, yeah,
but these guys were really heavy-handed. They're wanting to put liens on people's property because they have a college football flag up, or they erected a flag that was too high, or they painted their fence a color that's not approved, or they painted their front door an unapproved color. They wanted to be that heavy-handed.
I can relate to that. I actually was in an HOA back in Colorado, and me being the oddball that I am, we did some things here and there. And the one thing I found out though is HOAs are a stepping stone to politics.
To the city councils.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was
because-
going to make that connection, and it's crazy. These people want, these guys, these knuckleheads would show up all dressed up during our board meetings. Yeah, I'm there in like a pair of shorts and a t-shirt because I just got done cutting the grass and I have this meeting to go to. They got the gavel and they're doing the, attention. Blah.
Oh yeah, I actually I watched a guy. He said, "Yeah, I'm head of the biggest HOA in the town I lived in." He said, "And so we carry the most votes, and that's how we get more of the city council done, and that's how I got voted on the city council." And I just went, "Wow!" All because you strategically positioned yourself in a housing division just so you could do this.
I mean, I think HOAs have their place and they do good, but they also do a bunch of harm. They're just run by like the wrong type of people.
Oh yeah. I mean, all right, in our HOA, your house could only be colored 2 colors, meaning bicolor. If you trim one color, your house the other, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. We went and did tricolor. They actually took us to the board, and we didn't participate. We just said, you know what? I don't care. They took us to the board, and the board, it took them 2 months to get over it. And the whole time they're sitting there saying, they may put a lien on your house. And I said, let them try, please.
Oh, but they can.
Oh, I know. At the time, I was full of it. And I looked at them, and finally they got over it. And they said, well, maybe it's okay. You know what? Let's go ahead and make it so it's okay. And as soon as we did it, 5 houses on my street alone who had just painted the year before, repainted.
And there was I think a lot of the downfall of my last HOA that I was in, my only HOA that I lived in, was the rules went unenforced for so long. And then when we had a quorum and then everything convened, the people who were on the board wanted to start enforcing the law. So then you've got, 700 houses in that big development area. You got, a bunch of people that have lived there for years, 3-4 years. And all of a sudden there's rules. What do you mean I can't have a flag in my front yard? What do you mean I can't build a shed that goes above the privacy fence? All these rules came down. So it was really hard. It was hard to enforce. And you couldn't just grandfather him and say, it's fine, don't do it again, whatever. It was ridiculous. And right now I'm looking at houses, and it's hard to get away from HOAs because there's HOAs everywhere. There are neighborhoods that don't have them, and those are the ones that I prefer. But even the ones that I go to that have HOAs, the house is unoccupied. There is an active HOA in that neighborhood, and there was a lien for $1,500 on that house, and me as a purchaser, I have to pay that off.
And then you have to find out what it was that caused the HOA or the fine, and is it still something that's existing?
Well, yeah, because there's a lien on that house.
Because for all you know, the person went and did their lawn a specific way, and they left it that way,
or they left their trash cans out a day too late, and they got a $50 fine, and then they didn't pay it, and every month that rolls over, and then there's service fees and the doubles and triples and whatever. The land that I have up in Montana there's an HOA there, and it's not bad. It's really not bad. I mean, when I bought that land up there, that entire development, they didn't have roads. The HOA, because of our dues and stuff, they paved the roads. They do weed abatement. Weeds are really, what do they call them? Invasive weeds.
Oh, okay.
They have to pay to have that kind of stuff removed. They do snow removal and then road repair as well. I mean, $150 a year, it goes for a good purpose.
Yeah, that's not bad.
There's been so much snow up there this last year, they actually doubled it. So it's $300 this year because when the snow ends up melting, there's going to be a lot of runoff from the melt, and then that's going to reveal damage to the roads.
Oh wow!
So they
you're
doubled
right.
everyone's. So $300, woo, you know. But
Well, you know, the one thing, part of keeping things light, we talk about these things and kind of chuckle about it, and I list what I hope our audience is getting is, you got to let things just, you got to smile about it. And the more and more, let's not agendas. Too many people have agendas these days. Even simple things like HOAs. Come on, people. At some point, you've got to realize that we're each individual humans. We each have the right to breathe, or we would not be here, and we have the right to be happy. It's even in our Constitution, the right to pursue happiness. It doesn't mean you're going to get it, but you have the right to pursue it. So let's pursue happiness. What makes you happy? Find that.
puppies.
Hopefully we'll bring you some happiness just talking about simple stuff and give you some informative stuff on our Sunday show, and we'll listen. We'll see where it goes.
So you have any funny stories getting off the HOA thing?
Oh, let me see. Funny stories. I pulled up some stuff. Hold on. Let me see. Geez. I had one and now it wants to blank out. Oh. Would you pay $30,000 for a naked statue of Trump?
No.
Well, someone did.
Okay, I have some questions.
Yeah.
Who is the artist, and how do they know?
Let me see. Okay, the sculpture is going in the Hamburg at the it's going to the Mana Contemporary Arts Center in New Jersey on May 2nd.
$30,000, huh?
Yeah. I'm looking for the let's see. No, I'm not seeing who did it. I'm looking at it, and it's not very flattering by any means, from what they're actually showing.
So what is he, like a cherub with the wings, and he's got the bow and arrow, or he's...
Oh no, they're making sure to show him old.
Oh.
His skin sagging. I mean, really horrible.
Awesome.
And
it's just like a house, man. It's worth whatever you can get somebody to pay for it, and I suppose that particular sculpture is worth $30,000 if someone paid for it.
Exactly. I mean, anything is only worth what you pay for it, what you see it worth. Let me see. Oh, Chris Christie is the first elected New Jersey governor in decades who didn't break a leg during his term.
Repeat that?
Chris Christie.
Okay.
Is the first elected New Jersey governor in decades who didn't break a leg during his term.
I didn't know somebody was keeping tabs on leaders that have broken their legs, or would you say mayor or
governor?
Governor.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting the different little bitties that you can find. This is stuff that you just sit there and you look at going, people actually keep these type of lists and report on these type of things. Just for fun, to keep a smile on your face. That's the reason I even bring them up. They're different. Oh,
There's more.
I have all sorts.
This is exciting.
Here's one just because it has the word owl in it. An owl as a ring bearer. What could go wrong? The owl flew off with the ring, of course.
Of course, it's an owl. That's what owls do.
I mean, come on. Just funny stuff.
Where did
here's
that
one.
happen? Would it happen in your neck of the woods, or was that somewhere else?
No, that happened in Britain.
Okay.
Here's one. And I saw this in our newsroom, or our articles. Romanian man isn't dead, but court says he is.
The court says he's dead, so therefore he's dead.
Yes, a Romanian man had lived in Turkey for many years, cutting off communications with his wife. She had him declared dead. A court refused to overturn the death certificate.
Even when he walked up and says, "This is me."
Yeah, despite him being there in the courtroom. Come on, people.
Well, I guess then you have a court there that's just they're checking the box. They're going through the little flow chart.
Exactly.
And there's not an exception to this rule, so therefore you cannot come back to life, because that would be silly.
Oh, okay, here we go. Excuse me. A Russian man arrested under anti-terror law after talking about yoga.
Okay. They do some interesting things in Russia, so it's.
And then here's one for the medical and science. Woman who eats her hair has giant hairball removed from her stomach.
Have you seen? There's a show, and I cut my cable a while ago, but there's a show. It's like my Strange Addiction. There's stories of people in there that will eat like couch cushions, little bit by little bit.
Oh yeah,
and hair soap, detergent, like Gain powdered laundry detergent.
And you as a medical professional, you sit there going, okay, do they have a congenital problem that allows this? I mean, because one, there has to be nerve damage or lack of nerve, because you're going to feel stuff going through. Two, is the body digesting, or does it have a lack of tolerance and an allergic reaction, which actually makes it kick out? Or three, does it do what this woman did, and she ate her hair and she's got a hairball just like a cat?
That's crazy, dude. And there's people that have afflictions, and I won't understand that because I don't have that same affliction, or I don't know anybody that has that affliction. But I watch these shows and I'm like, damn, dude.
Oh yeah, and that's excuse me. There are people out there. I mean, because we all know genetics plays a part in everything. We all, as much as we like to all say we are the same, not one of us is the same. Each one of us has some form of genetic abnormality somewhere in our genetics for something, even if it's an allergy that says our body, our immune system is not going to accept. And these just go to the little bit more extreme cases. I mean, the guy who can sit there and swallow a knife. Well, that means that his gag reflex allows it.
Trichophagia? Did I say that correctly, Arena? Tricho, Trichophagia. That looks like trichophagia. Or trichophagia. I don't know where to put the accent on that.
I lost the room. I accidentally hit the wrong button, and now I'm going through pages instead of in the room at the moment.
Okay.
But I mean, people, you got to do stuff to make yourself smile.
And
Excuse
if that
me.
means eating couch cushions or hairballs,
It means go look at the world. You can't take yourself so seriously, and you can't take the world so seriously. You've got to look and enjoy. Oh, here we go. Judge to settle fight over Charles Manson's murderabilia.
well, I mean, it's got to be done. He's got an estate. He should.
Yeah, he had fans.
There's
He had fans.
well, and it and he was a he never murdered anybody, but he did influence people to do the murdering for him. It's just like that shooter at Parkland. The people that are watching over this guy, this kid in jail he's getting more mail than they've seen any other inmate yet.
Oh yeah, and people just they have morbid curiosity to an extreme, and it's you have to sit there and wonder, but it is what it is. Oh, here's a fun one. Man rams armored vehicle, literally a tank, into shop just for one bottle of wine.
The dude drove a tank into a liquor store for a bottle of wine.
Yep.
That's dedication right there.
That's an alcoholic extreme. And did your kids ever watch Barney?
Yes.
Well, you'll be glad to know the actor who played Barney
I know where this is going.
is now a tantric sex healer.
Good for him. You think he dresses up as the big purple dinosaur, or if he just maybe dresses normal?
I love you.
He's gotta sing the song.
Come on. How can you not sit there and look at that guy and just pull out a recorder going, I love you, you love me.
But I mean, didn't Paul Rubin go through some? He did Pee Wee's Big Adventure, and then he was masturbating in a theater or some shit like that.
Yeah, he was caught in a theater masturbating, of all things. And, I kind of go either way on that because, okay, he's a public figure. Maybe he shouldn't have been doing it out in public.
Well, he's got poor decision-making abilities.
Exactly. So you sit there and you go, but now Hollywood tried to bring him back and has kept trying to bring him back in little parts here and there.
I remember seeing him in, I'm a big fan of Mr. Bean. I think he was in one or two of the Bean movies, Mr. Bean's.
And I don't remember where, but I thought I saw him recently. I just can't remember where.
I don't know.
But it was just a cameo again. Not, of course, he didn't dare show up with the little red tie and stuff, so you could barely recognize him. But it was him. So, these are good examples of ways to keep yourself laughing. And look at the world. Look at your life. And know that, one, it could be worse. And yes, it can be better. But don't get hung up on it, people. Smile. Keep life simple.
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of choose your battles wisely.
Exactly. I'm with all my problems, and I'm not going to get into them because it's a downer, okay? But with all my problems, the one thing I learned: keep it simple, stupid. The KISS theory. Keep it simple, stupid. Keep your life simple. I mean, come on. In the military, what did we learn? You had a pillow. You had your backpack. So therefore, you had your sleeping bag. It didn't matter. You could sleep. Hell, sometimes you didn't even need your pillow or your backpack. You just slept standing
I
up.
could sleep anywhere, dude.
Well, exactly. Okay. So now that we're civilians, okay, we're being told by so many people, we need this, we need that. Well, I'm kind of rebellious in this matter. No, I don't need this. No, I don't need that. I have a couple things that I like that are niceties. And I realize they aren't something I have to have, but it does help me. But I keep it to a minimum because anything else is icing. And when you can look at when you can look around you and say everything in my house is icing, at that point you can be calm because you're not wanting or feeding into the rat race of grab and need and I gotta have. Does that make sense?
Oh, sure does.
You know, I have I'm
You know,
saying this.
it's just really hard. It's hard because, you know, society kind of, you know, breeds people into, you know,
Go ahead.
trying to make them consumers. You know, you need this. You don't. I mean, just because you have like the iPhone 7, but you need this iPhone X.
Well, exactly. I work with a couple people and here and there, and some even that do show up in the chat. And one of the things I bring to their attention is, what do they need? What it's not about what do you want? What do you need to live? And let's break it down to the simplest, most bare minimum. And then let's build. Because if you say you're a mother, what do you need if you're a single mother? Well, you need food, you need shelter. And then from there, what else? Nothing. Because as long as you have love, as long as you have love in your heart, you'll have your kids. And as long as you have food, your kids and you have shelter, they're safe and they're fed. From there, they feed into consumerism. You have to remember to be there to help them pull away from that so that they don't become so tense, which is what our advertisers and everything else out there want. They want you so tense on what you could have or what you should have.
Dude, we could do a whole other show on this, man.
Oh, but maybe that's something to lead into. But we're here for you, and I'm here for you, and Cause is here for you. Let's remember we're here for each other, and let's remember what means more to us, what's most important to us. And it's not the newest phone. It's not the newest computer. It's, well, like Spanky. She likes her food. She has her food. She knows that she's fed. She knows her daughter's fed. We all give her a hard time about it, but it is part of our nurturing and our safety.
Yeah.
So I hope I didn't go off on too much of this, but it's kind of, you're kind of stuck with me as the shaman. I'm sometimes going to bring stuff like this up if you don't mind, because I want, when I can, I'm going to remind you, everybody, because I went through it. Because when I got out of the service, my life was torn away. I had to rebuild. And then it was torn away again. And I had to rebuild again. And I can keep doing this because it got torn away for different reasons every time. And the one thing I learned, and my wife brought it to my wife, the love of my life, and my best friend, what she brought to my attention is, she said, what in this house do you want? And it fit in a box.
The Keurig.
Believe it or not, just a couple simple little trinkets that make me smile.
Nah.
So remember to smile and remember what's important. And it's that time, as
It is
I've
that
been
time.
nicely reminded.
Yeah, we got this is the first week of April. This is April 1st. We've got two guests this week. The first guest is coming up on Tuesday. It's David Kierner. He's from Honor Winery and Honor Brewing Company. He's a partner in Honor Winery and Honor Brewing with over 15 years of experience in the hospitality industry. So he's going to be our guest on Tied Up Tuesday with Minx and Gray Cloud. Then on Friday, she's returning. It's Jerry Ann Saylor. She's a United States Navy veteran. You might know her from she remade Hallelujah, but she made it a soldier's version or a veteran's version, and that went totally viral online. So,
Well, that's beautiful.
yeah, it's. I don't think you were around when she was on. She's been on twice before.
No, I'm the noob, and I actually started listening back in September of last year.
Yeah. Say, I always get her names. Jerry Ann Saylor. Jerry Ann Saylor. Always, is it Sailor Jerry Ann? I always get kind of twisted around on that. So anyway, that's good. That's our show, everybody. We appreciate you all for being here.
And part of my house cleaning, remember, every Monday we have Joint Eyes for Monday edition. And then Tuesday, join Minx for Tied Up Tuesdays with Minx and Gray Cloud. Wednesday is our Donza, Trigger Spanky. But you can catch KJ on WTF Nation Gaming with him and Hodor both, and while they slay dragons and stuff. On Thursdays, you have Sergeant's Time with Ice and Doc Madness. And then on Friday, you have Friday Night Freedom with Minx and Pookie. And on Saturday, you have getting tongue-tied. You have Savage Night Savagery with
Saturday
Pookie.
Saturday night savagery.
And then you have us again on Sunday with Kicking It with Cause and Owl. All of us start at 8 o'clock.
So that's our show, everybody. I appreciate y'all for spending time with us. If you missed a show and if you want to download it, you can just go to WTFNationRadio.com and look at the podcasts. They're all available for download. They're all free of charge. And I don't know, go to our Facebook.com WTFNR. Give us a like. Appreciate it. And
Love you. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we hope you come again.
hell yeah. All right, guys. Have a good night. We'll see you next time.
What'd you wish for?
WTF Nation Radio. WTF.
This is WTF Nation Radio.